Welcome back to successWerk, the Success Factory. My name is Felix Becker, and I am, of course, your very own success coach. Now, I always grew up under the assumption that coaches were swindlers and snake oil salesmen, and it wasn't until I discovered for myself what the power of coaching really meant that it completely transformed my life. And I thought recently that in today's times, life coaches really are needed more than ever. If you think about it, the way the Great Resignation has shifted our workforce, global conflicts and how they impact our lives here at home, even AI and how it is shifting the way we work. Now more than ever, we need life coaches in order for us to remain true to what it means to be a human being in this world, to get back to the core of who we are as human beings. And so I am on this quest to meet as many new and amazing coaches and introduce you to them as well, to share with you the magic of coaching, to show you, to prove to you just how amazing coaching is and how it can transform your own life. Look, if you don't want to live an ordinary life, you cannot keep doing ordinary things. If you're truly yearning for the extraordinary, you have to keep doing extraordinary things. And one of those things, from my own personal experience as well, has been coaching. So today I want to share my conversation with Pierre Boutet. Pierre is an immigrant from Canada. He now lives in Seattle, Washington, and he has an incredible story. Between moving to the United States and struggling with the language and the culture, and also bringing in 3 young children into this world with a language they didn't even speak at the time, to becoming an IT professional and consultant, and now in his retirement turning to life coaching, his story was absolutely fascinating. And there were so many facets in his life that resonated with me. I hope you get as much out of the conversation as I did. Now, if you want to work with me or Pierre, our contact information is in the description below. And remember, please like and subscribe and share this story with other people. The more people we can reach, the more people we can help. But with all that out of the way, let's get right into my conversation with Pierre.
Yeah, that's good.
Fantastic. Well, let's get right into it. Pierre, who are you?
Who am I?
Yes.
Hi. I'm so I was born in Quebec City. 64 years old. It's going to be 65 next summer. I was born there from a very my father was a working for the government, so was not really career oriented, but they had a very, I would say, ordinary life, and I'm actually the first in my family to go to college ever, so that was a new thing. So anyway, I finished college in 84, 82, sorry, I'm skipping years.
Skip a few years.
That's my wife who finished in 84. So anyway, I finished in 82 in IT, in information processing back then, that with computer science, but that was we were talking that it was in French, yeah, at Laval University, and worked after that 4 years for the government of Canada, and after 4 years I thought that the pace of the working at the government was not quick enough or fast enough for me, so I left the government to start a consulting career. So I worked for a smaller company first. My dad was furious about me because I was leaving a job security with the government, going, what are you doing? Going to work for a private company. But anyway, I took the plunge back then. Ended up working a couple of years for that company. And then I joined a larger firm. I don't know if we can name companies on the podcast, or.
I don't care. It's free advertisement for them, I think, if anything.
Yeah, they don't exist anymore, so I don't think.
No, there you go, even easier.
So that was about the second largest consulting firm in Canada back then. So worked a number of years for them in Quebec City, working as a system architect and project manager, doing also management consulting in different parts of the government, because our clients were the government mostly. After a number of years, my wife, who I met at work as well, she joined the same company for 4 or 5 years. We were both working for that same company. So that opened the door to opportunities where we could, when we had kids, we said, okay, what could we do to have our kids get more opportunities in life? So when you're born in Quebec City, it's a very francophone society, and you learn English as a second language, but that's really not, many people live there all their lives, and they cannot even have a conversation in English. And when you are in Quebec, you are basically surrounded by 400 million English-speaking people, including Canada and the US. So we raise our hands. We say, okay, we want to have more opportunities. And the company was expanding in the US and everywhere in the world. So we, raising our hands, we got a few offers to come to offices in the US. And the one that we picked was Seattle. So we moved to Seattle in '97. So with 3 kids who didn't speak English. It was quite a journey for us, I have to admit, not knowing what we would expect, honestly. But for us, it was kind of an adventure. Let's be there a year, 2 years, and then we can come back after that, and it's going to be awesome. Having that experience and seeing our kids having that experience as well. But after 6, 7, 8 months, the kids didn't want to go back. So we kind of found ourselves loving Seattle and the area. And we are still here. Everybody's here except one of my daughters, who now my youngest daughter is 33 years old, and they are down in Texas now. But all the family is still around the area or in the US, and I don't see a day where we would go back to Canada unless we had to. But so I continued to work for that company, and in 2008 switched for a wireless. I left the consulting world after 20 years. Went to work for a wireless company, which I would not mention because I regretted that move. And then after 9 months, I decided to take a sabbatical from work. That was corresponding also to a time where there was a lot of things happening on the personal side, a couple challenges and everything. And so took a sabbatical. And then after that, after 8 months sabbatical, I decided to join again the consulting world, which was for me. And joined a smaller company here in Seattle. And then after a couple of years, that company closed their doors. In Seattle, the market was really not great for us. And I finished the last 10 years until I retired in May 22 with a larger company here, which is called a joint venture between Microsoft and Accenture. So was happy there, and then I just retired May 22, and I decided to tackle a different world than IT, and here I am, my 2 feet in the coaching world.
Yes.
So
that's awesome.
That's who I am.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing. I mean, that's a load of story there. I mean, it's so many things that I can resonate with. So I actually wanted to touch back with you on your children. How old were they when you guys moved to Seattle?
They were 3 daughters, Melissa, Audrey, and Catherine. So they were 10, 8, and 6 years old.
Gotcha. And so I'm asking this. I was actually born and raised in Germany, and I moved to the United States when I was 15 years old. And very much like Canada, I had English as a second language. but nothing that would ever prepare me to go to a college preparatory school in 10th grade
Of
here in the
course.
United States, right?
Yep.
My level of English was very different than where I should be at in 10th grade at a college prep school. And so a lot of my struggles in life have come from that, not just from the language, which I have far excelled at English, far more excelled at English in my life than I ever have at German.
Mhm.
Um, I almost even got an English degree in college. I was like 3 courses shy of getting an English degree in college. But a lot of my struggles came from at 15. I was taken out of my social circle in Germany that I had grown up with since kindergarten, essentially, and got thrown in with a group of kids here that have been together since kindergarten, essentially.
Yeah.
So it's been, for me, always been the struggle, like, where do I fit in? Right? Because I lost touch with the people I grew up with, and I don't think I ever developed as deep a connection with the kids here that I had back in Germany. And so that's where my question comes in with your kids. So, 6 to 10 years old, and I have 2 daughters myself now in that age range. So I can see how that's a struggle potentially. So that's why I was wondering how they did with that, right? Especially not speaking English.
Um, they had their own ways of dealing with it, and I have to say also that your mom and dad also had their own challenges coming here because they dealt in a way that you might not have been
Oh, sure.
aware of or conscious of, but they had also their challenges as we did as adults. But to go back to my daughters, they my 2 older daughters, they had English as a second language, but very barely, 1 year, just nothing to even have a conversation.
Yeah.
We moved on a 5th of July, and then we put them, they stayed the first couple of weeks with us, the time that we found housing that the company was providing us with a number of weeks of temporary housing, and the time that we found a house and everything. So they stayed with us. After that, we put them in a day camp here, YMCA day camp.
Mhm.
And they made friends. Kids are unbelievably open to establishing relationships with anyone. I mean, they don't have those bias that we develop over time, which we learn in different bad ways. And so they were, at the time, there was not a whole lot of immigration also around here. So they ended up being considered as kind of the exception of their classes. So kids here wanted to be friends with them, so they made friends pretty easily. I have to say, there were challenges where I remember a couple of times where the counselors at the YMCA called us and say, "Well, can you talk to Catherine because she's been crying for 15 minutes, and we just want to know what is wrong with her, because if she's sick, we need to just have you pick her up." And we talked to Catherine, and she, we played the reward, strategy. If you are a good girl, and is there something wrong? Are you sick? No, no, I'm not sick. I just want to see you, and blah blah blah. We said, okay, if you're having a good day today, you're gonna have chocolate tonight, or we kids, 6-year-old kids, you can. As long as they are safe, and we felt that they were safe, it took a couple of weeks, and then after that, it was all right. In September, we put them. I would say we tested their capacity of adaptation really severely, because we signed them up in school here in September, but all of them, we put them at the next level that they would have been in Quebec,
Okay.
right? So Catherine had, for example, the first grade in French in Quebec, and we put her in a second grade here in English. But it was challenging because there's a lot of things she did not comprehend in school. But we're absolutely thankful of the system, the school district here system. I don't. I feel that the education system has not gone, has not improved over at all since that time. There was a lot more support that was given to the kids, and she saw a specialized education teacher for a couple of months, and then she had assistance from volunteers who were in the same neighborhood, and then were one of them had studied in Europe in English, and then so she knew French, so she could communicate with Catherine, and then Catherine made it up, and she finished her grade without I would say big challenges. And she ended up finishing. She graduated from college in finance in 3.5 years, and
Nice.
so she's a professional today. And then I think that made her more resilient to challenges. And yeah, that's
Yeah.
and same story with my two other daughters. And it was kind of the method of you jump in the water and swim, right? You have to
Yeah.
swim.
I mean, sometimes that's the only option we have. That's true.
Yeah, and I'm thankful of that. I have to say that my wife also was very instrumental in making that strategy work. And so as a family, and the last thing I want to say also is that the fact that we were the only one speaking in French, we had a couple of French Canadians friends in the same neighborhood here, because the office had moved many people from our office to their office here. And we became kind of a little community, and my daughters became closer from each other at that point, a better unity, I would say, between the sisters. They're very close today still.
That's amazing. Um, how did the transition work for you? I mean, you had mentioned obviously my own parent had challenges with that. So throwing it back at you, what was your transition like going from Canada, from Quebec to Seattle, Washington?
I had English as a second language, as you did when you were 15 and you moved over.
Yeah.
I had English second language. I had only 1 year of experience working um, partly in English. So I had one contract as a consultant back in Quebec, where the team was French Canadian, so we spoke in French between us, and we did presentations in French and everything. But the documents that we were writing was for the government, and parts of them was in English. That's the experience I had. So when I came here as a consultant, I started as a project management methodology coach. I won't name the client, but after a full day, and maybe I was comprehending 50% of everything that was said in the office. You kind of you learn how to use a piece of information here, a piece of information there, and making sense of all of that, making mistakes, not learning not to blame yourself because you didn't understand. Eventually, you develop your. I still have an accent, so it's just and it's been 26 years, right? You come back home, you're exhausted, and my wife was going through the same thing. So we just understood each other, and that's the way it was. And little by little, you go back to the same patterns that you had in your work life in Quebec. So I was a workaholic for much of that. And at the beginning, you start putting more emphasis on the kids' adaptation here, so you don't work too much. But after a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, you say, okay, what could I do to get more involved? And then so you go back to become a workaholic again until you make that decision in your life that that's not going to be part of your life anymore for
Yeah.
good reason.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of people, I think, who are in a similar situation where they go to another country to look for work,
Mhm.
and they find work. And like you said, it's mentally exhausting because you don't understand the culture. You don't understand half of what people are saying, and you're trying desperately to fit in. And there's a lot of people, I would imagine, that would just at some point say, this is too much. I'm going back home. What made you stay in the United States?
Uh, the kids, for a big part of it. We we had a better, well, the kids had made friends here, and then we had a good community of French Canadians who were working for the same company that became our best friends. When you're talking about different culture, it's really true. Our humor in Quebec is different. So you go to a party where there's Americans and French Canadians, and so naturally French Canadians we get together because there's jokes that are made by Americans that we don't understand. We did it. You have to understand the reference that is made. There's always a background reference to a joke, right? So something you have to have gone through to fully understand its meaning, and we didn't have that. So naturally, you you look for being understood. If you and again in parties, when there's a lot of people talking at the same time, it's very difficult if it's not your language to understand what is being said.
Yes, yes.
So we yeah, I'm 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 trying to remember what made the what made the I'm sorry, I forgot your question.
Oh, no, no. Really, what was your motivation to stay, like with all
Oh,
these struggles that were
motivation.
going on, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm sorry.
that
It
was really the question.
Life was good here. We had a good income coming in. We were able to travel, which we were not able to do when we were in Quebec much. You pay a lot of taxes in Canada and Quebec. You understand later in life that what you save in income taxes here, you might be giving it back to a hospital or something because
Mm,
of there. So but when you are 38 years old, when I moved, I was 38, you don't look that far, right? So you say, okay, I'm gonna be paying 25% income taxes instead of the 40. So yeah, that's a no-brainer.
yeah.
But through some experiences that my family had, for example, my mom and dad, they had to deal with a couple of occurrences of cancer, and they went through that at different periods of their lives, and they never had to deal with the stress of losing a home to healthcare costs or anything that never costed anything to them. So life is a balancing act between benefits that you have and challenges that you have to go through, and then what works for some may not work for others. But what made us stay is we found a great world here, great friends. The kids didn't want to go back, and even today, Quebec doesn't mean much to them. Unfortunately, they still speak French, but we speak English when we see each other because that's easier for them. So
Interesting.
we're Americans. We became all American. 11 years ago, something like that. And so this is where we are.
That's awesome. How did you decide on Seattle then in the first place?
When we raised our hand saying that we wanted an international experience, that Seattle had the best, I would say, uh, promise for us. It was a more liberal city. There was Chicago, that was in landscape, if I remember. There was Los Angeles, but we didn't see didn't see ourselves in those cities. The only thing that we knew of Seattle was that it was a liberal city, which was more potentially more similar to what we have in Quebec. And the only thing we had seen of the city, honestly, is Sleepless in Seattle.
Right. And
Dubbed
so,
in French. Dubbed in French. So,
you came in, what year did you move to the States then?
in 97.
97. Okay, all right. So Microsoft was already established to some degree. I
Oh,
thought
yeah.
maybe it was
Yeah.
like in the 80s or something.
Yep.
Gotcha. So with all that background in IT then, all the consulting that you've done, where does coaching fit in? How did that happen?
I mentioned earlier that I had gone through a period where we had couples challenges, and when I left the consulting world to go to a wireless company, we ended up by divorce, and I made the promise to myself that workaholism, which had been a factor in whatever happened back then, would be no more. You have to put your priorities at the right place. There's a psychologist back then when I consulted that asked me this one question that made the difference for me. He said, who do you want to have on your around you when you are on your deathbed? Do you want to have your bosses or do you want to have your family?
Yeah.
And to me, there's a click that came. I said, okay, I'm done. I'm just going to work. I'm gonna, it's okay to work for a lot of hours at times because there's deadlines you have to meet and things like that. But it cannot become the regular schedule. You have to balance your. So I also as because of that, also I made my work more a social happening. I could have worked from home in the last 4 or 5 years, 5, 6 years of my consulting life. I could have worked from home most of the time, but I made a point to go to the office because you meet people, you meet real individuals, you meet people in the hallway that you had not worked with for the last 3 or 4 months or 2 years and say, oh, how's it going? And all that. So you are someone else than a colleague that you meet on a video call because you have a business issue to address. And when COVID hit, I lost that. We closed the office, and you all of a sudden you stay at home. You have a bunch of meetings, one after the others, but you don't have this impromptu conversation with this colleague of yours that you that had become a friend and everything. So I started thinking about retirement and doing something else instead. And I crossed my 40 years of career, and I said, okay. When we came to the US, we had given ourselves an objective. I had given myself an objective of retiring at the age of 55. And I was already +7 on my objective. So I said, okay, I'm gonna do it. And then my wife, I've been remarried since then. My wife is ICF certified. She's not practicing as a coach. She's not done that for years, but she's ICF certified. So, and we have a couple of friends, couples who are also coaches. So the life coaching question has been around in the last 6, 7, 8 years around me. And so I said, okay, what do I want to do? I cannot retire and do nothing. I was an adept cyclist and a motorcyclist as well, although I sold my bike earlier this summer and I'm calling it good for life. But I said, okay, I need to try something else. And then started being interested in life coaching. I ran into the school that both you and I are connected to. And I loved, I did my essential program, graduated in March, and initially I didn't want to do the signature, so I took the summer off. And that's at the end of August. I said, okay, if and I realize also that the coaching techniques and the coaching discussions that we've had help me even in my current in my couple. In our couple, it's the way you learn how to listen to the other person and not stopping to tell them what to do. I was a guy who was always saying as a consultant, you should do this, you should do that, and that's not what coaching is about. So the techniques that you learn helps you in your personal life. So I wanted to go a little bit deeper, so that's why I decided to sign up to Signature, and I just started last week, and then I'm going to spend another year of learning. And if I started my business also last spring, very, very slow pace. And if it stays slow pace, just good.
Yeah.
If I can help a few people along the way, that's what I'm looking for. I'm doing it selfishly for myself, and then for others, if I can help others who are going through challenges in life.
Yeah. I think that you're so right. Excuse me. No, I think you're so right.
Bless
I
you.
think for all of us, thank you. For all of us coaches, there is some element of selfishness that comes into this,
Mhm.
right? What can we discover about ourselves as part of that process? So I think welcome aboard. I think we all do that. But so what if anything is your goal with your coaching practice? Like who are you trying to help and with what?
I I'm a strong believer. Technically, you as a coach, you don't have to be knowledgeable about the subject matter that of the. But that to me, that's the theory. I truly believe that as a human being, having been through experiences that your clients are going through, it doesn't mean that you will tell them what to do. You should not tell them what to do. It's everybody makes their own decision, but you can ask them questions that otherwise you would not ask them. I will go back to the question that the psychologist had asked me way back then when he asked me, who do I want to have around my deathbed, right? It's a pretty drastic question, but someone who has not gone through a challenging marriage and all of that, there's questions that you may not even relate to. So as a coach, it might be more difficult to help your client in a meaningful way. The target audiences that I want to help, there's a couple. I can help people who are going through an immigration situation.
Absolutely.
Been there, done that. Won't tell them what to do, but there's things that I wish I had been asked, questions that I would have been asked before doing these things. The other audience that is very dear to me are men who are going through what I call midlife questioning. I don't like the word midlife crisis because it doesn't need to be a crisis.
Right.
And I went through a midlife crisis. I wish I had been able to work with a coach who would have guided me in the couple of years that preceded that crisis time, because you can make different decisions that may be corresponding more to what you want to do, or what do you want to do, what can you do, what do you want to do. And if you are not guided with a coach during that time, it can become very confused in your head, and then you might make the wrong decisions for yourself, and you're not aware of that. So to me, men who are going through midlife questioning is an audience that I really want to help. And retirement. So it took me a couple of years to before I pulled the plug. And retirement, it's not only the financial aspect that you need to look at when you make the decision. It's, what are you going to do with your life, and who are you anymore? I used to, people were asking me, who are you? Oh, I'm a consultant, right? But I'm not a consultant anymore. So who am I? And so these are the three, I would say, audiences that I think I can help the most, and simply because, yes, because of the coaching approach that I put forward, but also the experience that I have, life experience, and that's.
No, absolutely. I think that all makes perfect sense based on your story, and obviously you now wanting to help other people in similar situations. It makes perfect sense. Now we had, I want to circle all the way back to the beginning, even our conversation before this, and that's the topic of purpose, right? That's kind of what got connected. So tell me what that means to you, where that comes from. Like, what if I just say, what's purpose to you? Where do you stand on that?
And I will also mention what struck me in your podcast. You had a purpose recently that was talking about, don't blame yourself if you don't find your purpose. Have a timeline, and then you move on after that if you don't find it, and it's gonna come to you, right? I personally found I've been living 50 something years without knowing that I had purposes, right? You get married, you have the purpose of your couple, you have kids, and then you become on cruise control. You have a family, you have kids that you raise, and then you have you have purposes at work. But the word purpose is something that I've started really hearing about 10 years ago. And it had become, and probably at the time where I had already started saying, okay, my job is no longer what I is not anymore what the focus of my life. I want to put a more balanced focus on both work and family. And I found that the word purpose is a little bit overrated to me. It's okay to have a purpose, but as you will agree with me, is that if you don't have one, it's okay to not have one. Don't blame yourself. Don't get depressed because you don't go into a depression mode and blaming game because you don't have a purpose right now. Just look back at your life and take the successes that you've had. You've accomplished things. They were all driven by some purposes, and then by convincing yourself that you have been there, you have had successes. Yes, there's going to be other opportunities to have other successes. Purposes don't necessarily need to be directed toward work. It can be family. You can
Absolutely.
have I have in my family, I have a sibling who has some challenges. Part of my purpose is to make sure that he's okay. It's not a day-to-day thing, but it's something that is going to be driving me to take helping actions at some point, as it had taken me to do in the last few years. But it's our purpose, maybe, and it's okay if you don't have more. As a retiree and as a life coach, my purpose is to help people. But how do I define that? Is that by I don't give myself a number of clients per month that I want to help. I don't want to have these level of defined purpose. um, being a good human being to me is such an important purpose, to be recognizing there are other human beings around me, and be a good example, a good citizen, and a good neighbor, a good friend is all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah, so the video you mentioned is the one on what if you never discover your purpose. And the reason I put that together was I when I started coaching, I got a lot really into it primarily because of career burnout on my end and seeing a lot of people around me. And so I put together a burnout program that based on the 5 Ps, and the second P is purpose. And so I
Mhm.
wanted to contrast in that video, um, what if you never discover your purpose? And I've had a lot of discussions lately with people who are in that midlife stage where kids are now out of the house,
Mhm.
careers kind of like not going where they wanted it to go, and they're finally just questioning, why am I here? Right. And the big word that always comes up then is, what's my purpose? And I'm trying to figure out, do we really have a does each one of us truly have a unique purpose? Or is a better way of looking at it, and this is something that I learned from a different coach. Maybe each one of our purposes is to live up to our highest potentials in life. Okay. Don't leave anything on off the table. Just live life to your fullest potential. That's your purpose. That's everybody's purpose. Everybody has the same purpose. Live life to your fullest potential. Where we all differ is in the mission that we set out for ourselves in life. So what's our mission? What are we trying to do to make the world a better place? And maybe it's semantics. I mean, we're still sort of wondering about the same thing then. Instead of what's my purpose, the question is, what's my mission going to be? But there's a lot of people I've talked with that have a lot of ideas. And I know I'm one of them. I have so many different things that I could be interested in and could see myself doing. And the question is, well, with all of that, how do I focus myself? So what's your thought on that? How do you focus yourself when you're overwhelmed by the possibilities?
Um, do one thing at a time. So that's there are days like I'm just recovering from a shoulder replacement. So I have a new shoulder from the beginning of October. So thank you to science. I believe in science, I believe in medicine, and I believe in surgery. So
Chance to cut is a chance to cure.
that's what they say, right?
That's yeah.
Uh,
I don't know if you know this. I'm actually a surgeon by training, and so
yeah,
I can tell you all sorts of things about that. But yes, a chance
yeah.
to cut is a chance to cure.
No, it's um, I think that be flexible in what you have to. Sometimes we say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this, and then there's something that happens that prevents you from doing it the way totally, completely or not. It's okay. You're gonna be able to do it the following day. Um, I work in consulting. I I don't know if it's because of my training, but in consulting, in IT especially, you live by deadlines. Deadline, there's always something you have to do. And I was project managing, so your responsibility is to make sure that things that are supposed to happen when they're supposed to be happening, avoiding risk and things like that. So my kids taught me a lot about that. They said, "Dad, let go." We were going on vacation, and I was always the guy who was saying, "Okay, what if this happens, or what is if this doesn't happen?" Dad, let go. And I think that letting go of things that you can't change yourself is a healthy thing. You have to be, I think it's good to be the best you can be and influence the things that you can have an impact on. Other than that, there's a high risk that you can make yourself miserable. I read a book last year. It's called Sapiens. It's by Iral. Is a historian from Israel. It's the story of the world from the prehistory to these days. And when you look at your life, basically, it's not even a sliver in the whole age of Earth.
Yeah.
So what is your net impact after all,
Yeah.
right? Influence what you can influence, be a good factor of change, a good influence in your world, and that's all you can do.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy, and I stopped. I tried to stop, not to blame myself for things that are beyond my influence, and I hope that more people were doing that.
No, I hear you. And I think the idea of, what does it mean to be a good human? I mean, we can go into that philosophical sphere, but I think conceptually we all know what that means. But the one thing in my mind is we should all leave the world a better place than when we first found it.
Yeah.
And it's maybe not even the world at large, but at very least your world that you live in, right? Your circle, your friends, your family, whatever your world consists of, leave it in a better place than when you found it. If
Yeah.
we all did that, it helps progress our species, our families, right? Our countries. It truly is what advances us. Anything else will just retard us and slow us down, and let
Yeah.
AI take over everything that we're failing at.
And coaching is one of those things that you can do if you are interested in human beings and helping people. So that I've always been interested in having, deep conversations around a table with family and friends around a bottle of wine and stuff. So those deep conversations, you have the feeling that you solve the problems of the world, right?
Yeah.
And in coaching, it gives me the opportunity, without telling people what to do, to have a sense that you are reaching people in places that otherwise you would not be able to reach, even in the office, because in the office you kind of stay superficial and all of that. But as a coach, you have a chance to influence people and may reach them at places that are really deep and really important to them, and then you can make a real difference in some cases. You wish that's the goal there.
Yeah, no doubt. And I can tell you, from my own experience, like I said, I'm a surgeon. I've been in medicine for many years, and even just in the last year that I've been actively coaching, I feel I've had a much more profound impact on the people I'm coaching with than I ever have in medicine. And it's that's really what's intriguing me and drawing me more into coaching nowadays and away from medicine, because I can have, at least from my experience with it, a much more profound impact on people's lives.
Without any pets. Yeah.
Right. I love these deep conversations myself, where you truly, like you said, you kind of feel like you're solving the world's problems. It's so true. But those conversations is where new ideas come from, new thoughts, whether you're changing the world or you're changing your world.
Yeah.
These conversations are so important. And
yeah.
so I came at coaching from a very limited mindset. My parents always said coaches were swindlers and snake oil salesmen. And I came at it from a very limited mindset in that space. And that changed completely once I actually discovered for myself what coaching really is. And I found now, the more I get into coaching, the more I realize so many people don't know about coaching and what coaching can really do for people. I mean, if you think about it from your own experience as well, everybody should have a life coach. It makes such a profound difference in the way you think and approach life. So how can we,
even coaches?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what can we do to make coaching maybe not just more accessible, but to allow people to see what we're talking about when we say this is the magic of coaching, this is the power of coaching, this is what we're talking about? Like, how can we spread that message to more people to make coaching more acceptable, more available?
The way I see it is, because you can influence the world that you are reaching out, is that practice what you're preaching. So the world that I can influence is first my family, my step family, my friends. Ask questions. Let them taste what being coached might become, and then and the word of mouth will do its will grow into something bigger. It's that's the way I see it. Your podcast is one thing as well, so that is a way to spread the word of coaching, and again, practicing what we preach is the best way. Showing by example.
Yeah.
And so I have a couple of friends who, in a dinner the other day, I was asking a few questions, and that person looked at me. She said, "Oh, you should be my coach." So it's just, and it happens in a natural way that way. So, and then that person, if that person has a good experience, well, she's going to talk, or he's going to talk to another person, another friend, and also, when I started my business back in May, I took a couple of marketing classes on LinkedIn, and then on social media. I've done a little bit of that during the early part of the summer, but after that, because of my shoulder, I decided to slow down, and I'm about to resume that again in January. But by having a message that is broadcast on a regular basis, like you have podcasts that are pretty regular every month or every week, you will reach a number of people, but you may not reach them at a time they need. But
Right.
you want to make sure that when they need, they remember you have become a familiarity in their world, because they have heard your messages, they have seen you, so there's in the social media thing. That's why many coaches, they put a lot of output or publications on a regular basis, because that time where you put something out, you may reach someone who really needs you or really wants you, but they may not do it at that time, and that's only a year later. But if they have been present in their social media all that time, they may remember you and see the value through everything that you have published.
Yeah.
Otherwise they would not. So selling coaching is very hard. That's a realization that I have made, and I won't be lying here. It's very hard, but it's, if you love it and if you like it, in your sincere in your desire to help people, the message will come across, and you'll be able to help the people who really want the help and work themselves on solving their challenges.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Which is, I mean, that's one of the big incentives for me is with these conversations with other coaches is to spread that word on coaching, and to show people not every coach is the same. Every person has a different personality, different experiences, different lifestyle, different language, different niche that they're working on. So trying to open that space up and make it more accessible, teach people what the power of coaching really is, and what coaching could do for them. So knowing all that, if people do want to reach out to you, they're like, Pierre, I want to work with you. Where can they reach you? How can they connect with you?
Well, they can go to my website, www.statementcoaching.com. In one word, no punctuation, so statementcoaching.com. And the reason why I call my company Statement Coaching is that I invite people to make a statement for themselves in their lives. So, on that, you'll have a little bit of my bio there, and then you'll have a way to schedule a free consultation first, because we have to talk about what you want to be helped with, and it has to be, it's a two-way. I have to feel I can help you, and you have to feel that I can help you. So we have a first conversation to determine the fit, and then after that, you can use that my site to schedule our meetings. I also have published a number of posts, blog posts that you can find on my website. So by going to statementcoaching.com, you'll find everything you need to so we can work together.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'll make sure that all the links are in the description for people to reach out to you and figure out a way to connect with you. And I the statement I'm kind of curious about. And the reason I'm asking is I actually, in the last few months, completely revamped my Phoenix program, which is my initial burnout program. It's really designed around purpose and finding your place in life. You know, like Phoenix rising from the ashes, right? We're going to create a new you. And one of my classmates in Lumia created a manifesto for herself. And I thought that was a brilliant idea. And so I incorporated the making of a manifesto into that new program. And I think it's a fantastic way for people to actually put down on paper, black and white, what they stand for, who they are, and how they want the world to be. So that's been my experience of that. So what is a statement for you when you say statement coaching? What's a statement that people create with you?
Be a positive presence in the world around me. So as simple as that. In many ways, that's for my family, my wife and I here at home, my kids, grandkids, 6 grandkids at this time, and friends. And my statement is, I want to be always, as much as possible, a positive presence to everyone around me.
Yes.
Sometimes it asks some work to be able to do that, but that's what I want to do.
Yes. No, I love that. That's so fantastic. So I have a few questions to ask you that seem somewhat odd at times, but I recently put together a new book on networking, and these are the questions right out of that. So first question is, what is a place you haven't been yet, but really want to visit?
Scandinavia. Never
Right,
been. I'm fascinated by Sweden, Norway, their way of life, and I've never been. So, and it's not a very typical tourist destination, but I think it's a place that probably there are places that deserve to be known better.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's I've never been to Scandinavia myself, but I'm a big
And you
fan
were
of IKEA.
closer.
Yeah, but I'm a big fan of IKEA, so probably should go to Sweden at some point. So I love that. Would you rather take a cold shower on a hot day or a hot bath on a cold day?
A hot bath on a cold day. I come from Quebec, and my wife was born in Oklahoma here, but she lives many years in Texas, and I see I wear some in the house. I wear warmer clothes than she does, and then she said she doesn't understand me because I'm from Quebec. I said yes, but I'm no longer there.
Yeah. So would you rather be able to speak any language in the world or know the answer to every trivia question?
I would like to be able to speak more languages, I think.
All right.
I'd like to lose the accent I have, but after 26 years, I think it's something I want to achieve. So
Yeah. It took me a while to lose my accent. I actually took a bunch of acting classes and language classes that ultimately helped me with that, like acting language classes.
yeah.
But I had just a funny story. So in high school, I was on the mock trial team and I was the expert witness, and I still had my German accent. And we made it all the way to states, and we had this one team we played against and absolutely destroyed them. in that competition. And at the end, after we, like just shook hands like we do, at the end of a competition, the other team came up to me and said, "Wow, really great job with the accent. How long did it take you to learn that?" I realized at that moment why we completely destroyed them, because they were so oblivious to the fact that this was just my way of speaking. They thought I had practiced that as part of my role.
Yep. Yep.
So I get that, but I had a lot of questions always like, "Hey, where are you from? What's your accent?" And I kind of got tired of answering the same question multiple times a day, and I tried to work hard. So I can respect your wish for wanting to get rid of that accent yourself. I still have an accent sometimes. People think I'm from Iowa, so.
Yeah, my one of my stepsons is my son-in-law, so not stepson, but son-in-law is German from Stuttgart. So
that's where I was born. Stuttgart.
That,
that's my hometown.
Yeah. He was 10 years old when he moved to the US with his parents. And so my daughter and him have kind of a similar experience in that regard, and that connected them before now they have 2 kids. And so, but yeah. But they speak, he speaks German to his kids, which I think is fantastic, because the kids, they speak English and German.
Yeah.
My daughter was speaking French more to my kids, but my grandkids, but it is what it is.
Yeah, no doubt. Actually, my oldest daughter now is taking German lessons on Duolingo. And when she was much, much younger, I tried to speak some German with her, and she said, "I don't want to speak German." But now that she's older, she on her own, is seeking out learning to speak German, because she also wants to now visit Germany and see where I come from. So that's kind of cool. All right, last question. Would you rather get to your destination quickly and spend more time there, or take your time and enjoy the journey instead?
I would take my time. I for 20 something years, I was a motorcyclist. So I did quite a bit of long rides with motorcycle buddies. And then we always said we are at destination as soon as we leave, because we are like so enjoying the ride. And then so probably the latter.
Yeah, I totally get that. I'm not a motorcyclist. I drive a Jeep, and driving that with the top off and the doors down, that in itself is a fantastic experience. And so I totally feel you on the journey side of things. That's great. Any last words you want to share with the world?
Well, I want to thank you for the last word is going to be for you. I want to thank you for this opportunity to have a conversation together. I was, very. I really like the work that you do on your podcast, and from the few ones that I've watched so far. I think we have a lot of commonality that I wanted to share, and so thank you for this opportunity. That's my last word, I would say.
Awesome. No, really, thank you for taking the time. It's been amazing, wonderful conversation. I know we still have a lot more things to talk about, but no, thank you for taking your time. I appreciate that, Pierre.